is Matt Gaetz, Gaetz, Matt Gaetz, former congressman.
Oh, we got a fighter.
Had to step down today, or did he have to? I'm confused though, because I felt like these people had no shame. So here's the deal. We have this. I was very conscious to not talk about every cabinet pick, to bring highlights, spend inordinate amount of time on who these picks are, because the reality is there ain't a damn thing we could do about it at this point. Number one, and number two, the people who can do something about it need to do something about it. Go ahead now. You know me yelling and railing on these airwaves, which is why, yesterday, even when we were having a lot of callers with these, immigration and this and that, I was like, okay, what's the plan? The church is horrible. Okay. So what's your solution? Like, we have to be very clear about what we can do and what we cannot do. And yes, noise, the squeaky wheel gets the noise, gets the oil. Yes, be squeaky, but the amount of squeak you have in you is limited. So if your house ain't in order, you shouldn't be out there squeaking about a whole bunch of other stuff. Get your house in order first. You know what I'm saying? If your neighborhood ain't right, do that. But in this space, I was like, I'm so glad I didn't spend a lot of time on Matt Gaetz, because look how quick that was. He stepped down. That was so quick. Now, have we spent all of this time, energy, and angst over this man being attorney general? And oh my God, what does this mean? And how's this gonna, how's it gonna impact society? And he's got a background that's sketchy, and all of the talking and having people on to tell us about him. That would have been a waste of our time. I feel like we were using our time very wisely here. I'm smiling about that right now. So I ain't going to be talking a whole lot about Robert F. Kennedy and all these other people. We'll mention it like we did yesterday, that T-Rump appointed the wrestling lady to head of education. And then we move on. But I thought it was interesting how the world is covering it. So I went to Le Monde in English, because I don't read French, to see how they handled this and where they placed it. It was top of the fold. If it were a paper that I got at home, it looks like it's a broadsheet, which the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the LA Times, those are broadsheet newspapers, and they are called broadsheets because of how they fold. Tabloids fold, they have like one big, it folds open, but on the front it's one big space. So the Daily News, the New York Post, a lot of the papers in Great Britain are tabloids, not because of the sensationalism, but because of how it folds. Now, because it has that big front page, it is bent towards sensationalism, because you want to put a giant picture with a big headline. But the broadsheets, which I consider to be like the real newspapers, because it's, it's dense and, they open up. And I've seen on the subway, when I used to ride the subway like 30 years ago, how cleverly people would fold those broadsheets to read. Some people had some magic. They were doing some, what do they call that? Origami with the with the paper to get all of their information. But it looks like Le Monde is a broadsheet. So at the top of the fold, so a broadsheet, has maybe 3 stories on the front. The story that's in the left-hand corner, if it's facing you, that's usually their like main story. Their headline read, "Scandal-plagued Matt Gaetz, who was nominated by President-elect Donald Trump to be U.S. Attorney General, pulled out of the confirmation process on Thursday." Actually, that's not the headline. What's the headline of this? Hold on. Real time. All right, I'll get to that later. But so this is how they wrote about it. Okay, so they said the Attorney General pulled out of the confirmation process on Thursday, November 21st, in an early setback for the incoming administration. Gaetz was one of Trump's several eye-catching selections. Eye-catching, I like that, including Fox News host Pete Hegseth as defense secretary, vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as health secretary, and billionaire Elon Musk as head of a government cost-cutting unit. Come on through, Lamone. I mean, they're telling you everything in that one paragraph. Very good journalism. Thumbs up. Okay, so then I went to the Financial Times. I wanted to see what they wrote about it. And here's what they wrote. Matt Gaetz has withdrawn his name from consideration for U.S. Attorney General in a blow to Donald Trump after the president-elect made the controversial former congressman his pick to run the Department of Justice. Gaetz announced in a post on, I'm going to call it Twitter, on Thursday that his nomination was, quote, unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General, Gaetz said. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. Trump's selection of Gaetz for Attorney General last week sent shockwaves through Washington. Many Republican lawmakers immediately questioned the move, raising questions about whether the radical from Florida would be able to survive a grueling Senate confirmation process. All cabinet appointees must be approved by a simple majority of the upper chamber of Congress. Gaetz, they're giving a civics lesson. Come on through, Financial Times. Gaetz, who resigned last week as congressman from Florida, was previously under investigation by the DOJ for allegedly having a sexual relationship with an underage girl. While no charges were ever brought, he has separately been the subject of a long-running congressional investigation into alleged sexual misconduct and drug use. This is all in the Financial Times. He has denied all allegations of wrongdoing. You must put that as a good journalist. You must put that. Okay. These are two papers. One's British, dealing with finances. One is French. Both of them have it above the fold, both broadsheets. They did a good job. Let me see what the New York Times did. In addition to having the Matt Gaetz stepping down as one of their top lead stories, they also added this piece. This was a piece that was just below the Matt Gaetz has stepped down piece, still above the fold, which means it's important. Federal inquiry traced payments from Gaetz to women. That's more than one, not just a 17-year-old. And just the headline, a document prepared by federal investigators bolsters claims by women who say they were hired for sex by Matt Gaetz, President-elect Donald J. Trump's choice for Attorney General, who denies wrongdoing. The Times has had, they also had an interesting piece, the New York Times, below the fold, and it was a piece on Susie Wiles, entitled Inside the Lobbying Career of Trump's New Chief of Staff. If you want to read more about the woman that's actually going to be running things, this is interesting. And it said, before managing the campaign of President-elect Donald J. Trump, Susie Wiles represented a tobacco company and a mining project, among others. So if you want to know more, but to me, like knowing that these people are compromised and that they have dealings outside of the government, or that they will be using the government to bolster their own personal pockets and profiles, that's a given. We ain't got to spend time talking about it because, again, what are we going to do about it? Do you think the election was rigged? Yeah, maybe, definitely, probably. Yeah, there's all of this information coming out, and the race was closer than we think. All of that's not going to put Kamala Harris in the White House. All of that's not going to change our current condition, which is what we need to be focused on. But more importantly, we need to be throwing ourselves into the future. As I say, we got to throw ourselves into the future. What do we want to see happen? Yes, I too would like to not have a president that looks like a giant orange Oompa Loompa. I would prefer to not have a morally bankrupt and compromised person leading this nation, but this is what it is. And this is America, but it's not who we are. It's not me, it's not you. So we're going to create the world we want to live in. But I want to shout out to Congress because this is something that I didn't lean into, that perhaps the majority of people who are in Congress, even those who have R's next to their names, are not MAGA Republicans. Perhaps the majority of people in Congress actually, when they swear that oath, because they all have to swear in to uphold the Constitution, maybe the majority of them actually believe the words that come out of their mouths and the oaths that they take. So what this says to me is that Matt Gaetz didn't have the votes. That those MAGA Republicans were not going to say, yeah, we uphold this alleged pedophile to be the chief officer, the chief police of the United States of America. This would be hypocritical, and I'm not standing by it, even if I'm a Republican. And for that, I say thank you. Thank you for standing up for the thing that you swore into Congress to do. Thank you for being a human being who has some integrity, just a little, just a smidge. So here we are. And as these things unfold, we'll talk about them. And I think I'm going to go over headlines pretty much daily because I think we need to know how the rest of the world is looking at us. I think it's important. And I love Le Monde. And I want to thank Dr. Mario Beatty again for introducing that to me this week and the rest of us who were in Nubia watching him on Tuesday. But I, of course, read it in English, and I'm going to read more headlines and talk about more things. But I'm just curious, 866-801-8255. How much of your time are you spending on the up to the minute, day to day of what, what is going on? Have all of you checked out? I have completely checked out. I don't turn on none of it. If it comes across my timeline somewhere, I'll see it. But I'm not tuning out from what's going on, period. I'm just not watching cable news. So I'm just curious where you're getting your news and information. I know some of you said local television. That's not exactly, it's good for the weather. I would watch local for the weather and traffic. But news, we might have to do some reading. But I do want to shout out Representative Sean Casten, Democrat from Illinois' 6th Congressional District. He was on the House floor today, and he introduced, I think, the resolution that sent Matt Gaetz, maybe this was yesterday, sent Matt Gaetz into, hey, I have to leave. But what's wild is he stepped down. He stepped down from his seat. So where's he going? To jail, I hope. But, this also makes me shake my fist at Merrick Garland's raggedy ass. I feel like Merrick Garland was probably the trashiest, worst, most horrible pick that a Democrat in charge with a mandate with Congress could ever have picked. You had the opportunity, Joe Biden, to give us somebody that was going to do something more than Merrick Garland. And if it took the Congress, the congressional floor to sit Matt Gaetz, it was right there. You just had to investigate him. You just had to bring up charges. The stories were out. Why didn't you do anything? And then you could have put Trump in jail and we wouldn't have had to deal with this. Oh my God, you could have sentenced him and
You blew it!
Oh my
You blew it! You had it all and you blew it.
Yeah, he blew it for us because that's the privilege of being Merrick Garland, right? Nothing's going to change in his world, but I hope history is not kind to him at all. Horrible. Ugh.
My days are cooler, nights are warmer, and I put the blame on you. Time moves slow. My heart beats faster when these eyes are looking right at you, right at you. You give me something to believe in, just what I needed. You're the closest.